What's up, brothers and sisters? Welcome back to the channel. This is Eugene from Kenya, Eugene Turkey Stories. What do I have today for you people? I'm going to take you back to the times of the Donor You Show. There are important things that we talked about, and I believe that black folks need to understand this. Black folks need to see what's happening. And I believe that this is important because if today you walk in an African household, you'll find pictures of white Jesus being hanged on those houses, people selling those pictures on the roads, and you'll find them. So in this video, we as Africans, we as black people, we want to know the truth. Was Jesus black or was Jesus white? If he was black or if he was white, what the changes can we have as Africans in our perception about who we were believed? Most of our schools in Africans are missionary schools. This means that a lot of things that we are being told are in the doctrine of the white Jesus. But here in this debate, we are going to see Blair Underwood trying to challenge Donor Hugh, telling him that Jesus was a white Jesus. Also at the same time, we are going to see a number of white debaters and black debaters trying to defend who was Jesus. Was Jesus black or Jesus white? So let's watch this video and then come back, say something as usual, say something about it. I have some scholar works that shows if Jesus was really black or white. We're going to see it. Stay tuned. Let's watch the video and then come back, say something about it.
What color?
Black.
Black?
Yeah, just say the
What color was he?
Caucasian. 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 Black.
Jesus was a human. If you're a Christian, you believe that he was the second son of the Blessed Trinity. He was the Son of God. He was divine, but he was expressed in his 33 years on earth as a human being. And now coming forward are not a few very, very active people to say that the presentation of a white Jesus down through history before people of color has served to characterize the Caucasian as superior,
Right.
as the best,
Right.
as better than others.
Right.
And more than that, has perpetuated a lie on the people of color and continued their enslavement.
That's right.
Here's who's here. Blair Underwood joins us from L.A. Law. Pow! Blair needs no lecture on this. A lot of black folks don't go for this black Jesus at all. Been praying to a white Jesus all their lives. This is their Jesus. And no activist of the moment is going to come along and rip that imagery out of their soul. And they're just as proud of their blackness as anybody else. It doesn't have to do with all this psychological stuff that you newfangled people keep bringing on. Blair Underwood has produced it's misleading to call it a movie. It's a 30-minute short film. Yeah, a 30-minute film in which he plays Jesus. Let me show you just a piece of that, Blair, and then we'll gab here a little bit. Jesus, this is the crucifixion. This is right at the beginning of the film. Just a moment to show you. Watch.
It is finished.
Here is the beginning of the film, titled The Second Coming, which was written, produced, and as you see, starred in by Blair Underwood. You should also know, without giving the story of this film away, that the historical Jesus then appears in your film as a contemporary black male.
Right.
Who is in a mental institution, and they're scared to death of this guy. And I mean, almost to the point where, you know, they're just beating him down. Did the Rodney King thing inspire you?
Oh, most definitely. I've been very outspoken about things that I have dealt with the Los Angeles Police Department. friends of mine, young African-American males with the so-called justice system. And when the Rodney King, the first verdict came out a year ago, it hit me. I said, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a so-called celebrity. It doesn't matter if you're Rodney King. Even Christ, if he were a man of color, were to come back, he would be treated the same way. So in the film, that's why he's accused of this heinous crime without giving too much of it away. But I need to make the point before we get into this, because this can get very heated as it has before.
Well, I don't know. We got a pretty thoughtful audience here. You know, they will offer their own insightful, civilly structured commentary here in just a moment.
But it's important for people to realize that this film is not about dividing people. This audience has seen the film. It's about understanding. It's about enlightenment. It's about what this man, Jesus, whatever he looked like, what he taught, his philosophy of love. But we're dealing with this historical figure.
Yes, we are. What color was he, Blair? In your own, you are a Christian?
Yes, I am.
You were raised a Christian.
Yes.
And you know, this is not an investigation, but I mean, was it you better get to church or Mama's going to have to know why? I don't know.
It was pretty much like that, yeah.
All right, so that you was it Baptist?
Baptist.
All right, so you sang all those hymns to Jesus, and I'm sure that Jesus, throughout your childhood, was white. Is that so?
That's correct, but we were always told that he was a man of color. Before we get into it, you have to understand what is black. What is blackness? Blackness is one of three things. It's either a perception, what you see. When you look at me, Phil, you see a man of a darker hue. It's either a state of mind, a consciousness. That's why I have friends of mine who are white, and you'll say, and they know more about African American heritage and culture than some black people. And you'll say, well, this white guy, he's black. He's a brother. Thirdly, when we talk about blackness, it's defined by your ancestral lineage, your genealogical line. If you go to the genealogical line of Jesus, there are people of color throughout his lineage completely. And the thing is, before anybody can take issue with this film or with this entire issue, and it's not a novel idea, the significance of this film is it's never been on camera. A black Jesus has never been on camera. Right. Certainly not a crucifixion. So it's been there. And it's important to establish that because of all the things you said. We talked about the justice system. Well, but once we get beyond that, then, and only then, it becomes irrelevant.
Yeah. I want to make sure I understand your position here, Blair. You do seem to be finessing a bit. That color is a matter of the heart. And you're right. There are white people who have been so very, very exemplary in their continued effort to ensure that the civil rights of all people are protected. That people of color, minorities, have started to refer to them as brother or sister. Great. But they're still white. I think you are suggesting that there's some pretty good historical anthropological evidence suggesting that Jesus just probably was black. Am I correctly stating your...
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
In that...
Was he a Jewish black guy?
Oh, there's no question. We're talking about a Jewish man from Jerusalem who more than likely, there were no camcorders or Polaroid cameras then, but more than likely had to have been a man of color. We're talking about probabilities.
Are you there, caller?
Yes, Phil. I just want to say that when God said he was going to make man in his image, he did not mean white, green, or any color. It was supposed to be spiritually like him.
Very good.
And that's what is important.
Yes, well...
Thank
Wait a minute. Hold it. Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's. I tell you, caller, I very much appreciate your thoughtful comment. Except you are kissing a baby here, and you're waving a flag. These politically active people who want to, as you'll see in a moment, there are people who are taking down the white Jesus because that is he has been presented for 2,000 years before peoples of all color as a Caucasian, European...
I got through.
Europe... Oh, you got two lines coming in on one. That's a pretty good sign, Blair. You've kind of rung the bell here with the phone call. So please don't miss the point. It's not enough to say, hey, we're all God's children. If you continue to present Jesus this way before little African-American children or people of color all over the world, they grow up somehow... believing that way down inside, white is better.
Plus the fact, Phil, we're talking about the historical figure. We are created in God's image, but this man, Jesus, the actual human being we're speaking of.
Are you there, caller?
Yes, I am.
You wanted to say?
Yeah, I wanted to say I'm a 32-year-old white female who was raised Catholic, and I just have to say that no matter if Jesus is black, white, green, red, I believe in the Supreme Being, and I think that's what we all have to look at.
May I ask the Catholic this question?
Yes.
How would it be okay with? I assume you're a churchgoer.
Well, no, not as much as I was.
Well,
when
but you've been all right. Well, that's not this. Would you approve of your pastor changing the color of Jesus statues to black in your church?
If that was what my church did, I don't look at a picture of Jesus and say, "Oh, that's Jesus." I have a feeling within me that there's a supreme being,
but what
and it
color
doesn't
has
matter what
color has Jesus been throughout your childhood?
White, and
What
I
color-
think that's ridiculous. Because,
What color was his mother?
You know, who knows? And I don't think those people that are on your show that
There
are
were. I must tell you this. I'm older than you are, but there were no black statues in my childhood.
Well, right.
I mean, everybody. St. Teresa, Joseph, everybody. Everybody. A guardian angel was white.
Right, they were all white, and I'm just saying, but just because that's how we were raised
doesn't mean
that we have to be so narrow-minded and so focused.
Blair agrees,
on
I'm
something
sure.
that we can't open up our minds and our hearts to something different.
She's missing the point. It is twofold. You have to answer this question twofold. It's important because when you speak of this man, when all the evidence points to that, it's an affirmation of people of color. I'm speaking of Latino, Asian, African Americans, Native Americans, people of color. It's an affirmation of our place in history that we contributed. I'm telling you, people wonder why there are riots and why there are blacks and Latinos in jail so much. There's no self-image.
Right.
When you deal with revisionist history that's been revised and altered as it has, it deals with your self-image and you don't care about life anymore.
The Reverend George Stallings, now referred to as bishop, former Catholic priest, since has split himself from mainstream Catholicism, has his own church, Washington, D.C. He preaches a sermon. Here he is, Good Friday of this year, the Reverend Stallings from Washington.
We must make one thing clear on this Good Friday, that the Jesus of history that you saw walking up the street just a few minutes ago is only an imposter. The white Christ is only a figment of Michelangelo's imagination. The white Christ is an imposter of white Christianity.
Now, what I'm seeing is we're starting to divide. It's not about dividing people. It's about speaking about the truth. And then, that's the second fold of the question, you have to deal with this man. This man was about love. This man was about embracing everybody. This man was about forgiveness. This man was about enlightenment. This man was about tolerance. And that's what this film that we did, The Second Coming, is about. Tolerance for each other and tolerance for each other's religious beliefs. I have to say, and I have to make this point, with all respect to Archbishop Stallings, I don't agree with tearing down other images. You can't force people to believe like you believe. I believe in speaking about the truth.
Speaking of tearing down, here is the Reverend Stallings. I'll tell you what, whether you're on Saturday Night Live or standing in the public square in Washington, D.C., seems everybody's putting the match to something today. So this is not going to be met with the approval of everybody. Some people communicate differently than others. And if I'm understanding Mr. Underwood, you are, among other things, saying that you believe it can be established very credibly that Jesus was a man of color, and that, if I'm understanding you, you have a certain empathy for those, especially those older Christians of all colors who have spent a lifetime worshiping a white Jesus. You're not going to go in there and break anybody's statue, but you are stepping forward to say...
I'm stepping forward 2,000 years later. You have to understand the initial images of Christ and the Madonna in countries like Poland, Spain, Italy, these are white Caucasian countries, worship a black Madonna and a black Jesus. Yeah. These images were altered and changed.
Are you there, caller? Hi.
Hi, Donahue.
Hi.
I'm calling from Pennsylvania, and I'm a white female, and I don't see where there's any difference in whether or not Jesus is black, just like the first caller. First, I'd like to commend Blair Underwood for the relevance of what this is bringing out to the surface. In these day and ages, people need to get beyond the color factor.
Yes.
Who we pray to does not matter. We were created in His image. If I go to heaven, I might see him as white. If someone else goes to heaven, they might see him as black. Who do we know what we're going to perceive him as?
Well, except that we are left to at least leave the door open for at least an inquiry, as Mr. Underwood has already offered us with his film titled The Second Coming.
I agree.
If we accept the humanity of Jesus, that Jesus was a human being who happened to be divine, and that is traditional Christian doctrine, then we have to deal with his ethnicity. And that's what Blair is doing. I'm glad you called, Pennsylvania. Are you there? You had a brief comment. Go ahead.
Yes. I would like to say that, number one, yes, Jesus Christ was a black man. Jesus Christ was from the Mediterranean region. And if you were to read in your Bible, it will tell you that he had matted hair and webbed feet. White people always said that black people had webbed feet. But that's not the issue here. The issue is, look to the true fact.
Right.
Over in the Mediterranean, people were of dark skin.
Do you know this Revelations quote? Are you familiar
Revelations
with
1 verse 15.
Yeah. You know this? You want to talk about it? Here we go. As you know, the Bible is, of course, I'm a brilliant biblical scholar. But here's from Revelation. His head and his hairs were white, like wool, as white as snow. And his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace. So it's the brass metaphor that you think lends support to his being a person.
That is what you usually hear, the brass metaphor, and also about the hair, but more specifically, like I said before, because that can be talked away and rationalized away into symbolism.
Yes, it can.
I'm talking about the ancestral lineage of this man. And in fact, as scientists have told us, we all come, and the first man and woman were black, so really we all have
yes.
blackness in us.
Are you there, caller? I'm glad you waited.
Hi, Blair.
Hi.
Hi, Phil.
Hi.
I am a white Christian woman, and I believe, I agree with Blair that...
You're 5 for 5. Yeah.
Right. I agree. I believe just because of geographically where Jesus was born, that he was of color. I don't know particularly what shade, but I know he was of color. And I also think that, when it comes down to it, everyone who's a Christian believes in Jesus' blood, and that's what matters, the color of his blood.
I do thank you for your call. I assume Blair is encouraged by the support you're receiving. You come out here waiting to hear some self-righteous white Christians stand up and say, who do you think you are messing with my Jesus?
Well, that is part of it. We have gotten that, and we will get more of that. But these are people who have missed the point.
And we'll be back to talk to young people, white and of color, about this issue. We'll talk to a leading member of the National Baptist Convention from Indiana, as well as other Christian people, about how they feel about the effort to re-examine the man who was called Jesus. What color was he? And we'll be back in just a moment.
The audience.
Yes, you wanted to say.
The reverend that was shown on the TV, I think that was as bad as what Sinead O'Connor did when she ripped up the Pope's
You don't think Sinead O'Connor should have ripped up the picture of the Pope, and you don't think he should
But what he did was 20 times worse, and I haven't heard a word about what he did.
Uh-oh.
Yes, I would just like to say that Deuteronomy tell you you're not supposed to use these images anyhow. Read your Bible. Right. Yes, Jesus was black, and he's coming back again. He wants you to get your act together.
Kane Hope Felder, thank you. Thank you. Praise the Lord. I don't want the Lord to have you. Yeah. Yes, you wanted to say.
First of all, I want to commend you, brother, Truth. The spiritual significance of Jesus Christ is that African Americans have suffered from institutional racism, which diminishes their spiritual and cultural self-esteem because of the color of Christ. And that should not go unnoticed. Commend you, brother. Bless you.
These young people have been asked to be with us. Some not so young people. You just might be older than the host here. Well, then I should be deferential to you and to your age, sir, and I will. These are people who are church active, and I think most are Christians. And want you to know that I think you all are very supportive of Blair's effort to share with the nation and the world the idea that Jesus was a man of color. Kane Hope Felder, PhD, joins us. You're a professor at Howard University School of Divinity. And you wanted to say what about this issue?
I want to say, first of all, it's important to recognize that the Bible represents a world before color prejudice. The Bible represents a world that has a very favorable attitude towards blacks. It's a multicultural world.
Yes, it is.
One of the great tragedies has been that in the last 400 years, Europeans and white Americans have created the whole ideology of white supremacy, and they have, in the process, taken the images, sacred images, as well as secular images that are victorious and positive, and made those images white, right. And by the same token, they have recast black into a negative image. And I think that is a very important thing to keep in mind here. We are interested in corrective historiography, setting the record straight, right, so that our people, African American people, will begin to sense, as I think was pointed out in a very wonderful way earlier, have much in history that has been neglected.
It is not a reach to suggest that the slave who worshipped on Sunday, the Messiah who was Jesus, who was white in all his temporal manifestations as offered to us by Michelangelo and other of the classical artists over the centuries, yes, would be likely to bring the same kind of obsequious deference to the slave master who was white as well. So I think you are here to say, among other things, that inside, there's nothing overt about this, and it's insidious, but it's there, is the notion that somehow white people are to be obeyed, respected, and looked up to by the slave.
Particularly when the white slave master has a whip and a gun to the slave's head. Particularly when this image is presented in such a way that the black has no option. The black cannot believe anything else. It cannot even express anything but the quiet inner pain of seeing the inconsistency between the whole teachings about a God of love, and somehow the Bible is being used to keep them oppressed and feeling negative about themselves. And that is a tradition that we have received in America, and the average white person needs to be instructed on these matters, not just young black kids. The average white person in America is as misinformed and miseducated as the average black person. And I think that this is a very substantial issue in all of the colleges and the universities of this country.
Muhammad Ali called our attention a long time ago to the color of devil's food cake and angel food cake. Are you there, caller? I'm glad you waited. Hi. Is the caller there? Probably be a good idea if I push the button.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. You wanted to say.
Yes. If Jesus is supposed to be black all of a sudden, why wasn't he portrayed as black 2,000 years ago? Why did they start him out as white and all of a sudden he's black?
You got a lot of white reporters intervening.
Yeah.
I mean, it was I think these folks are suggesting that the image of Jesus was co-opted by the white establishment over the years. All the artists were white.
They were all liars then.
Well, liars, I mean.
Right, then they all lie.
May I just say, I want to say this to the caller. Over 100 references to Egypt are in the Bible. Over 50 references to biblical Ethiopia, which is present-day Sudan, are in the Bible. Old Testament and New Testament. Bible scholars, most of whom have been white, have translated and interpreted the Bible in a way that would be distinctly favorable to Europe and a way that would be distinctly unfavorable to Africans and people of color. And this is an issue that we really have been suffering under for a long time.
And we'll be back. I got a break, caller. I'm truly sorry. Give us a one-liner and I got to get out of here.
In that case, we can't believe the Bible either.
She's right. She's right.
Well, now, just be careful here. And we'll be back in just a moment. Hi, thanks for waiting, caller. You wanted to say briefly.
Yes, Phil, I'm a black female and I'm married to a white male. And my in-laws are so prejudiced against me. Now, I just wonder what's going to happen to all these people that are so prejudiced and so hateful towards black folks when they do see a black Jesus, if it is a black Jesus, and what's going to happen to the most of the media that has just been terrible to black media. What are they going to say then?
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's not going to be one decision about what color Jesus may be in your church. This would obviously be something that the church itself, incidentally, many churches have already made this step forward.
That's right.
Not a few are predominantly black churches in urban areas. Hang on a minute, caller, because next to Dr. Felder is Corrine Stewart. You're a real live 15-year-old teenager. Well, we should know how you feel, Mr. Stewart, sir. What are your thoughts about this issue?
Well, I just think that throughout history, our history has been denied. If you look at, we don't have to just look at Jesus. We could go back to Cleopatra when they was played Cleopatra. We didn't see that on television. We saw a white woman as Cleopatra. We saw Moses on television portrayed as a white man.
Yeah.
But this is not something new. This is not something that just jumped out the cracks all of a sudden. We have been discussing this for a while.
What inspires you, Corrine? Obviously you've done your own scholarship on this. At age 15, you were raised in a Christian church, huh?
Yes.
Did you sing in the choir? I mean, were you there every Sunday? Now, don't lie to us.
I sang in the choir. My mother had me to come.
I bet she did. Yeah. Well, are you still singing in the choir, Corrine? This is none of our business, so you want to take the fifth. Go ahead.
I can. I'll tell you, I don't sing in the choir because I can't sing.
Another stereotype down the drain.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Very good point. And you're probably not too good with a three-point basketball shot either. So let's put down a lot of these stereotypes while we're at it. You were inspired to look into this how, Kareem?
Well, like most children and stuff, I really didn't pay any attention to it. When we walked through the church, Jesus was white, Mary was white, heck, every picture on the wall was white. But then one day I just took a step back and looked and thought about, why is this? Why do we have these images? Where are we? We're not just slaves. We are more than ex-slaves. We're from Africa. We have a very rich heritage. We were the first architects. We built pyramids. We were the first astrologers. So I just took a step back and said, heck, we're not this. We're more than gang members. We're more than killers, basketball players, musicians, entertainers. And I think it's the time. It was time 25 years ago when Martin Luther King was assassinated, when Malcolm X was assassinated. I want somebody else to step up to the front plate. It's not, we just shouldn't sit here and just say, oh, well, heck, they let us go to a bathroom. It's time for us to change this.
And we'll be back in just a moment. Hi, I'm glad you called. Caller, you had a brief comment.
Yes, I'm a African-American female who's about to become a mother, and my comment is in reference to the depiction of biblical characters throughout the year. If it wasn't such a big issue, then they would also involve people of color throughout the year.
Right.
I mean, what am I supposed to tell my child when it's born, when it says, Mommy, why isn't there people my color up there?
Yes. You're thinking, Mom. Your wheels are turning. Santa Claus.
I grew up in a household where there was a white Jesus or Caucasian person depicted.
Yeah.
And you never saw anyone of color. It's like we didn't exist.
Hang on a minute.
Jesus' role was a man of love. What I'm seeing and hearing is nothing but sacrilegious.
In other words, Jesus is what color?
Jesus' role was a man who taught love.
What color?
Color has nothing to do with it.
All right, so
in reality, Jesus was bronze.
What do you got?
Okay? But what I'm seeing and hearing is nothing but sacrilegious. Destroying of the pictures. It's horrible.
We're not hearing this destroying the pictures here.
If you look in the Bible, it tells you that the first man, Adam, was formed from the dust. Dust is not white. And the Bible says that Jesus is the second man, Adam.
All right.
So how
Excuse me.
All right, now we're going to have a lot of biblical stuff from you because I want you to know something. I don't want to get any arguments with you. You wanted to say briefly what, sir?
I want to ask a question, and that is why it is everybody's up in arms about the truth the truth of the matter that Jesus was not a European Caucasian person. He was a person of color. Now, the white people have determined what color is. If you're not white, then you're black. So that means that Jesus Christ was, of course, Dr. Felder is the leading scholar in this field.
Wendy Reitmeyer is here. You get to talk today, Wendy. You say, among other things, that it shouldn't matter. That's the first thing I think you want to know. What else would you like to share with this audience? May we assume you are a good Christian person?
Yes.
Doesn't have your age here, so I don't know if I'm allowed.
28.
You're 28. Kindly tell us what you think.
I really don't think it should matter. I think that if you really believe that it changes how you feel about him, then maybe you should reevaluate your relationship with him. You know, it's either, it doesn't matter if he's black or white, because it's stated again and again and again in the Bible that he walked through all the nations. It didn't matter who they were. He loved them regardless.
Would it upset you if he's portrayed as black?
No.
Wouldn't.
No.
So if that would be the choice of certain congregations and within the Christian tradition, that's okay with you?
Sure.
Well, guess who else is here? My good man, you get the award for humility. You've said nothing here. You've been very, very, we can only assume that you're ready to say something, however. You are the Reverend Dr. F. Brennan Jackson. You are pastor of the Calvary Institutional Missionary Baptist Church in Gary, Indiana. Proud tradition. Here's a church that wasn't formed yesterday. You've been around a while. You then have, I assume, worshiping in your church, people of all ages, but you also have, I would think, a considerable number of seniors who worship in your church who happen to be African American. How am I doing?
Right.
So you have to be sensitive to their feelings.
Right.
And you can't come up in the 11th hour of their life and start tearing down pictures. Do I understand some of the challenges you face with this, or would you want to, or tell us how you feel?
I don't face a challenge, and we don't face a challenge. I've never been under the assumption that God is a man as such. We preach God as a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. He's a God of all mankind, not a certain group of people. And I
bet he's white on the statues of your church.
No.
I bet he's white in the pictures of your church.
The picture in the pool depicts him as black. But everybody know that's not Jesus. That's just a picture. Jesus Christ is the Son of the living God.
So that there
now, one other thing.
Yeah.
Jesus said in the book of John, other sheep have I that's not of this fold. If a brother just wants to think that Jesus is of color, it's all right. But I haven't heard nothing said here today about salvation. It's all been about color, and that is sacrilegious.
Well, that isn't fair. That isn't fair. Yeah.
Mr. Daniel.
Yeah. Wait a minute. You have any idea? Yeah, I got an hour show, and you come here with 12 books now.
Right. So
we got to do the work of Caesar here now. So don't take me around the world.
No. Here, man. I can't show you.
Just make your.
I want to challenge them, all of them on your show.
What color was Jesus?
Jesus was black if he lived. He didn't exist. Here is the Pope of Rome praying in his private chapel to the Black Madonna.
The Black Madonna.
That's the private chapel in the Vatican for anyone.
Very well woven into the Polish tradition. Yeah. Our Pope is a Pole. Yeah. And we should not be surprised that the Black Madonna has been worshipped by our Pope.
Oh, yeah.
All right? I got to... Hang on just a minute, boy. I'll tell you make me nervous. Now, wait a minute. I don't want you mad at me. Let's take another look at Blair's film here. Now, Jesus, as you saw, it opens with the crucifixion, 3 crosses, and Blair plays the role of the Christ. And now here he is expressing himself in contemporary times. They got this guy locked up real good, scared to death. I mean, we got chains and doors and locks and a lot of frightened white people locking up this man who... in this, as you would accept it in the manner in which Blair has written this, would be a suggestion of the second coming, and he's got some of the brothers shook. Watch this.
Welcome guys back to the channel. So we're seeing under Blair trying to defend the agenda that there was a black Jesus. Black Jesus existed even before, but you realize that when the people who are involved in writing these pieces, translating these pieces, you find that most of the people who were mostly involved were white people. So this means that the ancient scholars that we have before were the white people. These gave them to have a biased picture of who white Jesus was. And this generally tells you that everything is being viewed at the point for white supremacy. We were told that Satan is black and God is white, Jesus is white. So relating with our skin color, they try to show us that we are subhumans, or we are somewhere down. Leaving that, I don't want to go much into that. There's something that I want to talk about which is into context. First of all, I would really like to congratulate Blair Underwood for what he does, or for what he did to the black community. He is one of the fewest people in the early 80s who spoke about things which are happening in the black community, including the belief system and everything, the relationship between the black community and the white community. Understanding the dynamics that we have today, even in the religion part, where we are now told that most of the part that even Africans, we as a person growing, I knew that Jesus was a white person. However, coming to read different chapters of the Bible, coming to know the truth about different chapters of the Bible, that I'll also show you the research that some scholars have done, the description of who Jesus was. I will read you. First, I would like to commend Blair Underwood for the courage, for the charisma, for the speaking for the black people. I will also commend every black person who was in that debate, who defended and who stood up for the truth. And some people also say that Blair Underwood never went on with his career. Maybe it is because he said the truth. And you know what always happened with the United States of America? They always never want to hear the truth. So when you say the truth, there is always something that they'll do to you. Maybe they can sabotage you. So there are speculations that that might be the reason as to why Tony Blair Wood, his job was short-lived. Now, what do I have for you here? I have for you something that I want to read to you. It is an article that tries to give the appearance of Jesus, who Jesus really was. Now, according to Judean origins, Jesus is widely accepted to have been a Judean from Galilee. Research on ancient skeletons in Palestine suggests that Judeans of that time were biologically closer to present-day Iraq Jews than any other modern population. This implies that the average Judean would have likely a brown or black hair. Underline the word brown or black hair. Honey, olive brown skin, and brown eyes. What does this tell you? It is not a blue eyes, but a brown eyes. According to ethnicity and cultural interpretations, claims about Jesus' race have often been based on cultural stereotypes, ethnocentrism, and societal trends rather than scientific analysis and historical method. Some scholars believe that Jesus was dark-skinned, while others argue that he was ethnically black. So I'm going to read you what King James Version says about who is Jesus, and you're also going to tell me what you think about this issue in the comment section, because I believe that we need to talk about this. And I also believe that Jesus was not white, as these people always try to tell us. I believe that there are some biases in representation of black people and misrepresentation of black people at the same time. So we are told that according to Hebrews chapter 4 verse 14, that's according to King James Version, that is Hebrews chapter 7 verse 14, it says that, "For it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah, of which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood." According to Ezekiel chapter 40 verse 3, it says that, "And he brought me thither, and behold, there was a man whose appearance was like appearance of brass, with a line of flax in his hand, and a measuring reed, and he stood in the gate." This verse describes a man with appearance like brass, but it's not explicitly referring to Jesus. Yes, he might have been describing Jesus. And if he was describing Jesus, we know the color of brass. The color of brass, sometimes it comes brown because we know it's an alloy, it's a mixture of different metals. So mostly it comes a mixture of different colors. Same way with the description of Jesus. We are not told exactly that Jesus was white according to what the images that we have always been shown in different places. We are not told that Jesus was exactly white. Rather, according to most researchers, what they're saying that Jesus was black, at least brown or black hair. So measuring the probability or the possibility of Jesus being a black person, it is true that Jesus was a black person. That's why I hear most of people say, I'm praising the Lord of Judah, Jesus of Judah. I'm not praising the white Jesus. Maybe, come think about it, it is the same thing that they're talking about. Guys, I might not know much about this discourse, but you have the chance to tell me what you think about this issue in the comment section. I believe that we both will learn from each other. I hope that the debate that I'll show you benefits you in a way, because it has also benefited me. And if it was my wish, I wish every African household, from our parents, because mostly in the past, our parents used to believe that we had a white Jesus with blonde hair, with that blonde long hair. And come look at it, even most of these people who act the roles of Jesus, they're just white human beings who are walking in the streets in the Europe. They are being paid of playing that role. And how dumb was I? I was looking at those videos and crying, thinking that that was Jesus. I was literally crying, didn't know that that wasn't Jesus. So yeah, it was a big brainwash that most of us Africans, we were brainwashed believing that it was. But thank God, thank the social media, that we can come to see these things today. And my hope it is that this message may reach every African household so that they get to know the truth about what's happening and what is the truth. Africans, black people, we must be woke. This is the time. So guys, tell me what you think about this in the comment section. Until then, let's meet in the next video. As usual, you know, peace, love, and harmony. Salute.